Imagine getting paid in the morning and being poor by evening, not metaphorically poor. Literally, measurably poorer by the hour. This isn't a dystopian movie plot. It actually happened. Germany, 1923. People weren't checking stock prices on their phones. They were checking the price of bread every 30 minutes. This wasn't a failure of hard work. This wasn't laziness or a lack of intelligence. This was a systems failure. And if someone like Elon Musk were to explain it today, he wouldn't start by pointing fingers at villains. He'd start with incentives. First, you have to understand that money is not paper, money is trust. It feels physical, the coins in your pocket, the notes in your wallet, the numbers on a screen. But in reality, money is a shared belief system. You accept it only because you believe someone else will accept it from you tomorrow. The very moment that belief starts to crack, money stops behaving like math and starts behaving like pure, raw panic. Elon Musk often says that most people don't think in systems, they think in stories. Germany in 1923 is a brutal lesson in why systems matter so much more than stories. So let's set the stage. It's Germany. Right after World War I, the country is economically shattered. Factories are damaged, millions of workers are gone or injured, and production is crippled. Then comes the Treaty of Versailles. Germany is forced to pay massive reparations to other countries, but not in promises. They had to pay in hard foreign currency in gold. Here we see the first critical systems mistake. Germany owed money that it could impossibly earn fast enough through its own production. It was like having $1 million mortgage on a minimum wage job. So, the policymakers reached for the fastest, easiest lever they could find. They started printing money. But printing money is not the same as creating wealth. It just feels like it. Musk would probably frame it like this. If you increase the number of tokens without increasing the actual output of goods and services, you don't create wealth, you just dilute reality. Germany massively increased the supply of its currency, the mark, without increasing the supply of actual stuff bread, coal, steel. What happens when you have way more money chasing the exact same amount of goods? Prices don't just rise. They explode. By the middle of 1923, the situation was beyond absurd. A single loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. Workers had to be paid twice a day because their morning wages would be worthless by the afternoon. Children were using stacks of banknotes as building blocks, and people were literally burning money for heat because it was cheaper than buying firewood. This is the point where economics stops being a theoretical subject in a textbook. Imagine sending an invoice for your work that becomes outdated before the ink on it even dries. This is what happens when the trust in a currency collapses faster than the ability to produce goods. And here's a detail that most people miss, but it's crucial. Hyperinflation isn't just about prices going up. It's about the speed of money, its velocity. Once people stop trusting money, they don't hold on to it for a second longer than they have to. They spend it instantly. Musk would call this a positive feedback loop, but positive in the mathematical sense, and absolutely catastrophic in reality. People rush to spend their money, which causes prices to rise even faster. Prices rise faster, which makes people rush to spend their money even more frantically. It's a death spiral. In this chaos, savings are wiped out. Any kind of long-term planning becomes impossible. Society shifts from a mindset of building and investing to one of pure survival. And who gets hit the hardest? The middle class. The poorest people already had very little to lose. The richest had real assets, land, factories, foreign currency that held their value. But the middle class? The teachers, the engineers, the doctors, the civil servants? Their life savings, held in cash and bonds, vanished, literally overnight. And when the middle class, the very backbone of a stable society, loses all faith in the system, politics doesn't stay calm for very long. Hyperinflation didn't just destroy money. It destroyed the government's legitimacy and paved the way for extremism. So why does this story from a century ago matter today? Because as Musk often warns, technology accelerates everything including our mistakes. Back in 1923, printing money required giant machines, paper, ink, and logistics. Today, it's just a few keystrokes. The speed at which we can make these decisions magnifies the consequences immensely. That's why this isn't ancient history. It's a stress test for every modern economy. Any system that rewards short-term relief at the expense of long-term trust is fundamentally fragile. So how did Germany fix this? They eventually stabilized their economy by doing something radical. They just stopped. They stopped printing the worthless money. They introduced a completely new currency, the Rentenmark. And crucially, this new currency was backed by something real, productive assets like land and industry, not just empty government promises. Trust didn't return because of inspiring speeches. It returned because the fundamental incentives of the system changed. Production mattered again. Saving money mattered again. People could plan for the future again. That's how broken systems heal. The real lesson here isn't about Germany. It's about how civilizations can fail quietly through what start as simple accounting errors but quickly turn into profound moral crises. If you boil down a worldview like Elon Musk's, it comes to one core principle: reality doesn't care about our narratives or our stories. Only systems that align with reality can survive in the long run. Money must reflect productivity. Debt must reflect the capacity to repay it. And trust must be earned continuously. The future doesn't belong to those who ignore history. It belongs to those who understand systems. Germany in 1923 shows us exactly what happens when our collective belief in a system collapses faster than our ability to produce real things. When that happens, math stops working, money becomes fiction, and society is forced to pay the interest. History doesn't repeat itself, but broken systems do. Thanks for watching. If you found this perspective valuable, please subscribe for more.